Behold, the iconic Yamaha DT1. Introduced in 1968, this bike effectively defined a whole new market for motorbikes, i.e. the dual sport or enduro type motorbike. So that's a motorbike which is off-road capable but also street legal. Prior to this, the only off-road bikes you could get were effectively either road bikes which had been modified or adapted to be off-road bikes. So it will be a production bike, will have a high exhaust, different gearing, perhaps bigger handlebars, higher mud guards, knobbly tyres, that sort of thing, but they were still basically road bikes. Or you could go for some obscure European bike like a Bultaco or a Husqvarna. But the trouble is with those bikes, they're either expensive, rare, heavy, and they weren't even road legal either. The Yamaha importers in the US realised there was a gap in the market, so they asked Yamaha in Japan to make this bike. And when they did, and when it was launched in '68, they sold like hotcakes. Why was that? Because they're brilliant, that's why. At the heart of it is a single-cylinder 250 5-port 2-stroke engine, which is very powerful for its time. It was the latest in technology. It's all slotted into a purpose-built frame with long forks and suspension travel. It's nice and slim, it's attractive. It was also very cheap, relatively speaking to the European bikes, that is. So they sold like hotcakes. This particular bike is a 1971 DT1 MX, completely original and unrestored. This one came from the States. The MX bit means it's been fitted with the genuine Yamaha tuning parts, and I'm going to go into that in a bit more detail later on. But first, we actually need to get the thing started because it's been sitting in a shed for a few years, refuses to start, so we need to wheel her into the workshop and see if we can start her up. So if the bike's not working, the very first thing you do is check the spark. So what we're going to do is going to whip the spark plug out, leave it on the side there with the HD lead connected, and we're going to kick it over and see if we get a spark. So we're now ready to test the spark plug, but to make things a bit easier, I'm going to turn the light off. Now it's completely dark, I'll see what happens. Ignition on. So it looks like we have a spark. So we know we've got a spark, so it's now time to see if we're actually getting fuel through. So if I take the fuel off the carb and turn the tap, yes, fuel is getting to the carb. So this tells me that it's probably something going on inside the carb. So time to take the carb off. The carb is off, but what I'm going to do before I take the carb off, or take the carb to pieces, is that I'm just going to check down inside the crankcase to see if I haven't got fuel that's drained down into there through a leaking tap. And the way I've done it, I've got this tube and I've fed it down through the inlet port with the piston at the top, and it's down now in the bottom of the case. So I'm going to suck on this end and see what happens. Right, now sucking on the tube, let's see what we've got. Lo and behold, the case is full of oily fuel, so I'm going to suck all of that out into this tray I've got down here. This tray, it's never going to work with that light in the case. So I've put the carb back on. I've not bothered stripping it because I'm pretty sure the culprit was this. This was what was siphoned out of the crankcase, and with all that in there, it's never going to work. The air-fuel ratio needs to be right, and if all that fuel is sitting in the bottom, then it's going to be way too much fuel, so it's not going to fire up. It's just going to foul the plugs. So now it's all back together. Let's give it a go. Looking good. So that's a good sign. The gear fires up, very promising. But it's now 9:30, so better not go too crazy this evening, otherwise the neighbours will lynch me. and let's get back on it tomorrow, shall we? So it's a beautiful day today and the sun is shining, but I'm still in the garage because I thought I'd take you for a little guided tour of the bike and show you what makes it an MX. Yamaha produced all these tuning parts which you could bolt onto your bike and turn it into the MX version, i.e. the motocross version. So let's take a quick look, shall we? So pretty much the first thing you spot is that the front wheel is much bigger than the standard DT1, and it's actually a 21-inch wheel, and I think the standard is only 18-inch wheel, and it's also got these rather big knobbly tyres on there. Same front drum, rear tyre. Well, rear wheel is 18, but it's a very big knobbly tyre, more suitable for motocross. Looks pretty cool as well. Second thing that sticks out like a sore thumb is that it has no clocks, no speedo, no tacho, minimal instrumentation. It's got a horn, and it's got still got the same light switch, but it obviously has no lights either. It's just got this plate. Ignore 72, it's actually 71. The forks are also much longer than the standard bike, and it normally has a mudguard or a fender in the States attached to this bracket here. On the road bike it's actually attached to these lugs and sits lower. On the MX it sits much higher. Now for the engine, quite a few changes here. You've got a different barrel, a different head. The spark plug arrangement is different on the GYT head. The porting is different as well. It's a bit more aggressive, and it also has a single piston and ring. The carb is bigger. The carb I think is 32mm as opposed to 28mm. You can see that this is the tacho drive. It's blanked off. The exhaust pipe or the expansion chamber is different on the GYT. I'm not sure. I don't know whether this is the standard or the GYT. It looks kind of standard, but it goes pretty well. So that's pretty much all the changes for the MX bike. So I think it's time to take it outside now and take it for a spin. So we're now outside and it's time to take the bike for a bit of a blast. Bike's all ready. There she is. But I'm not taking it for a blast. Nat will be taking the bike for a blast, as she is my chief test pilot. Right then, let's start the bike up. You'll probably understand why these bikes sold so well. They're absolutely brilliant fun. So that's about all for this week. You may have noticed that we are wearing these very fetching new t-shirts. These are available in the shop, which is in the YouTube bio. But for now, thanks for watching.